Running late just because a lot of computer stuff going on. I'm here with Dr. Suter. Hi. Hi,
Hi
Dr. Suter. How are
everyone.
you?
Good. How are you, Carrie?
I'm great, actually. I'm so great. And I told Dr. Suter that I wanted to share some great news. We always talk about diet on here and how important diet is for our animals, and speaking with veterinarians about it sometimes can be difficult because not all vets and not all doctors believe that diet plays as big a role as it does. But I just got back from my doctor's and I changed my diet 5 weeks ago. Most people know my cholesterol was really high, and I just got some test results back. I had them retest it because I knew I was being strict about my diet, and my cholesterol went down by 80 points. 80 by 80 points. They didn't think that was going to happen. They thought there's no way you could do it. They wanted to put me on all sorts of cholesterol medication because my cholesterol was really high. So the only reason I want to share that with you is because diet is so important. And like, we need to talk about it more. So I'm just excited. I'm always excited to talk to Dr. Suter. So I know you guys will be. Let me just let you know, we're going to be talking about a lot of things right here. Of course, we're going to talk about nutrition, but we're going to be talking about the event. But we want you guys to ask your questions because they always lead Dr. Suter into an area that will help so many people. So don't be shy. I love
Sounds
it though.
wonderful.
It does. It helps though. A question kind of sparks something, and then somebody else goes, "Oh my gosh, I didn't." I learn a lot when people ask questions. Somebody asked a question on Vets I Recommend a couple of weeks ago. She said, "Can ear infections be transferred from one dog to another?" And I had never even considered asking that question. And I think it was Dr. Roman that answered it. And it was just really interesting. So please ask your questions. But if you're not asking questions, we're going to talk a little bit about just some things that we like to talk about. We just saw each other at Super Zoo. What did you think? So I don't know if any of you guys went, but what did you think, Dr. Suter, about Super Zoo?
Well, first off, hi Kristen and Michelle. I just saw them a few minutes ago. They're part of
Oh,
my group, and we just did a Q&A session before. So hello,
oh,
ladies.
awesome. Hi. Welcome, guys.
Yeah, well, it was interesting, but since I'm not a retailer in that sense, for me it was not as fascinating, I guess, as for people who are actually selling products. But the interesting part about Super Zoo was that probably about 50% of all of it there was more naturally oriented,
Yeah.
and from what I hear, I mean, for me it was the first time I went, but from what I hear is that it didn't used to be that way.
No.
So it just means that a lot of movement is going towards natural, more holistic, um, products, which is really great.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely is. I've been going to Super Zoo for forever. We'll just call it forever. And
Hmm.
it did definitely used to be a lot different. And I know it was definitely leaning more towards natural, but we got to be careful because people like that word, of course, right? We've learned.
Yeah.
So we do have to be careful. I am a retailer, so I go there. But honestly, one of
Mhm.
the biggest reasons I went there was to hang out with you.
I know. That's why I went, is just to kind of socialize.
Yeah, yeah. So the
And
two
that
crazy
was really
cat.
fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And I think that's what's so great. And I know that for those of you guys who are listening, you know that we are putting together a live event that's coming up October 1st called Reinventing Health, and it's a pet wellness. And I think that's the thing that people don't realize is it's the social aspect of it that we get
Mhm.
excited about is learning and educating, both learning ourselves and educating. So I think that's why I'm really pushing for these live events because I get
Mhm.
so much more out of them than I do doing conversations like this. So,
Mhm.
but obviously you think the same thing too. We go there to socialize.
Yeah, I always say that, it's sort of the vacation for the soul,
Yeah,
or the rejuvenation for the soul, because you get to be with like-minded people. You don't have to explain yourself, it's like they just get it and that's it. You're on
yeah,
the same page.
yeah,
So it takes a lot less energy. And so yeah, and it's really nice to be able to be, together in person again,
yeah,
and spend some time, because when we do Zoom things, it's just whomever is speaking. It's not the same. It doesn't have the same dynamic, although obviously it's great. It's a wonderful thing that came out of this whole pandemic, that we are now connecting all over the world more so. But there's still something to be said to be in each other's presence
yeah.
physically.
Yeah. That
For sure.
energy is so, it's just different. And I am with
Mhm.
you. I like that we have the capability to do this, but I'm a little scared that some people have kind of, I'm guilty of this too, where we kind of went into our houses and we kind of liked it and it was kind of
Mhm.
safe and we could just turn on
Mhm.
our computers in our pajamas. But I'm a little concerned that we're gonna become that. And I think we
Mhm.
need to have a balance. And
Right.
so I'm hoping, that's why I'm glad I went to that event and
Yeah.
able to. You know what I saw a lot there, and I wanted to ask you. There was a lot of new testing for allergies. What do you think of those? That was kind of a big thing out there at the Super Zoo.
Which ones did you see? I didn't really
Um,
see them, but
there
maybe
was
I didn't go to that part. I don't know.
there was well, 5 strands was there. I just noticed there's a lot of allergy
Mhm.
testing coming out.
Yeah.
So I just don't know how. What do you think about that?
Well, for allergy testing, I'm not a huge proponent of some of these allergy tests just because they generally test what's somewhat in your area, but what if your neighbor has a Hawaiian plant that's
Yeah,
blooming and your dog or cat is super allergic to that? So I think that with environmental allergens, you cannot really get all of it. You get some of it. Um, when it comes to food, you definitely want to go more with a saliva test because foods are not generally an allergy. It's usually more of a sensitivity. So allergies would be more if somebody eats a peanut and then they completely blow up, and
yeah,
that's an actual allergy. But with foods, it's usually more of a sensitivity, which is a different response of the body. So with an actual allergy, we have immunoglobulins that get produced and secreted, and those are immunoglobulin E. And then when we have sensitivities, it's immunoglobulin A and M. So it's different kinds. And when we do blood work, when we test for food allergies, then we look for immunoglobulin E. But because it's usually a sensitivity, you're not going to get accurate numbers or accurate picture because it's
right.
measuring the wrong the wrong immunoglobulins basically. So saliva is better for that. And then a lot of these other tests that, like the one you mentioned, and then there's some other ones. Um, I don't really trust them as much just because they're more bioresonance
Hmm.
tests. So they don't actually test any sort of actual material. Like you don't, they're not testing immunoglobulins, they're not testing blood or any of that. It's basically you send in a little sample of hair or saliva, they put it on a test plate, and then they basically take the energy resonance from that to then, get the results. And how accurate that is, I don't really know because with some of these tests, they've sent in, hair from teddy bears, like from a stuffed animal, and they still got results.
Oh my gosh.
So it's like, mm. And I've had somebody who sent in a test for bioresonance and a saliva test at the same time, and the results were completely different.
Different.
Yeah. But that's not to say that bioresonance doesn't work for some animals,
Right.
I mean, they're still around, these companies.
Yeah.
So somehow they must be getting some kind of
Something.
result. And some people do say that it worked for their animal.
Yeah.
My preference is just more to actually look for the actual, for, the saliva. And I don't really do any testing for environmental allergies. What I do, for that, I just take a cotton swab and dampen it, and then I just swipe it over the coat of the animal. And then I muscle test to see if there's something in the environment that's causing the issue or not. Because, again, there's so many allergens out there, and I'm just hoping that whatever the animal may be sensitive, allergic to, may actually be on their coat. So if I kind of scrub their coat, then I will hopefully have the allergen on my little cotton swab, and then I just muscle test to see um, if that's what it is. So I keep it really simple with that. But
Yeah.
certainly there is other tests that can be done. I mean, there's um, the hexa test, and there's some other ones that are blood tests, and then they basically create little vials that you can then inject or give orally based on these allergens to desensitize.
Yeah, I know. I just noticed there every year at Super Zoo, there's always a theme. There's like it
Mm-hmm.
seems like there's something. It all comes out about the same time. And so the two themes that I noticed were these allergy tests, which I, of
Mm-hmm.
course, as people know, I bought a bunch of them because I'm going to test them on some dogs at work.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to run them and see if we get any results that actually work, and then we'll remove the allergens and see if it works.
Mm-hmm.
I like to do that before I recommend any product. And then the other one I noticed was the cat litter. So really, even all of the people that went with me were like, "Have you noticed all the cat litter was all tofu?" I don't know if you
Oh,
noticed that.
really?
Yeah.
I
So
saw some that had wheat in it and corn, and I didn't see any tofu ones, but
yeah,
I think they all have the same problem, which is high levels of glyphosate, most likely.
yeah, yeah,
And then the cats still go in there, even though they don't eat them, it gets all over them, and then they start licking, you know how they are.
yeah,
They lick
yeah.
everything, so gets on them, and um, yeah, it gets on their fur, everything. So probably
I
not the
can't tell
best.
you over the years
Um,
because I own a cat hotel. So many times people will tell me that their cat has asthma, and I'll say,
yeah.
"Have you considered changing their cat litter?" And no one ever
Mhm.
suggested that, and we could change their cat litter. So I'm always looking for a better cat litter constantly. And so, of
Yeah.
course, I bought a couple of them because I'm going to try them out and look at them and
Mhm.
figure out and do my own testing and figure out stuff. But that was the two things that was pretty amazing that I got out of there. And then the rest
Mhm.
of it was just hanging out with you guys.
Yeah, yeah.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah, I mean there were some good products, some innovative things like the Bow Wow holder, where you can put the bully stick or whatever
Oh yeah,
bone
yeah,
in
I saw
there,
that.
and it gets, it screws it on, and then they can't basically choke on the little
Yeah,
leftover of it.
yeah,
So I thought that was great. They also had a great toothbrush that had bristles on two sides, so bristles here and bristles
yeah.
here, and then it would if you kind of go through the tooth, it would just brush it on both sides, and then
Very
it had a little bristle on the top as well,
yeah,
which I think it was there more to just keep the mouth open, because if you have something that kind of pokes around on your gums,
right.
you're more likely to keep your mouth open. So I thought that was quite nice.
Yeah.
Um,
There was some cool
yeah.
stuff. I did see that thing that holds the bully stick, and I thought that was brilliant.
Mhm.
That was so
Yeah.
brilliant because that is the one thing they can choke on, that last little kind of piece that is in there. So that was really smart.
Hmm.
In fact, we're going to probably start carrying those at the spa because that is the one thing I always tell people: you got to be really careful. Don't just leave your dog alone chewing on a
Yeah.
bully stick, and they get that big old that round piece that's
Yeah.
left over stuck in the stuff.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
you can put anything in there. I mean, I guess you could also put a duck neck in there, or a turkey neck, or
yeah,
anything, to also teach them to chew on things, especially if you're introducing them to something new,
yeah.
where they might be just like, oh, food. And then the whole thing gets stuck.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
No, it's I love it. It's one of the things like people talk about vendors and I don't want people to sell me stuff, but thank God we have vendors. I've been saying that about
yeah.
all like a lot of times vendors that are creating these products are creating it out of a problem they had with their own dog. It's not just
Hmm.
about selling a product.
Hmm.
You can get some really good vendors. I know our event coming up, I handpicked all of the vendors.
Hmm.
And when I say I handpicked, it wasn't necessarily that. I had also noticed people that our speakers have been, like I would look up if Dr. Suter had mentioned about a company or a food, I would start looking it up. So it kind of collectively came from all of us to have these vendors at our event that we're doing
Hmm.
because I didn't want people to have to. That's the one thing about the Super Zoo. I have to really weed out a lot. It's a lot of work for me to walk
Hmm.
up and down the aisles, and I might only find one product that I
Hmm.
am interested in. And that's what we're trying to do with this event is weed them out for people.
Hmm.
So it's
Yeah.
it's just the really good vendors, and we have some great vendors coming to the event, so I'm very excited about it.
Mhm.
But it's coming up. I can't believe it.
Yeah, I know. I'm excited and a
I think
little nervous too, because as you mentioned earlier, it's about being out there again. And I'm like, I haven't been in front of people for like ever. And I'm like, oh, I hope I'm not going to freeze or, make a total fool out of myself.
I know. I haven't done, other than just kind of doing this and doing the podcast. I'm actually going to be doing the keynote, and so I haven't done public speaking like that up on a stage in, I think, like probably 20 years. So I'm a little
Oh,
nervous too. I'm a
okay.
little
So,
nervous.
yeah, I'll send you some good vibes.
Please, I'm nervous too. I mean, mine is way shorter, and I'm just
Yeah,
really going to be talking about why we're here. That's what the
yeah,
keynote does, like what's bringing
yeah.
us together. But you guys are the ones that are bringing us the knowledge that we're
Mhm.
actually, why we're there is to learn. So tell us a
Mhm.
little bit, without giving it away. What are you going to be talking about?
I'm going to talk about basics, foundation of uh, how we actually even look at health and disease and what it is and what it isn't and how it comes about, because that's something that I find is missing very often. There's no foundation. People wake up one day and they see their dog have struggling getting up on the sofa or in the car, and then they automatically reach for like a joint supplement. So we've gone from a pill for every ill, we've gone to a supplement or an herb for every ill. So the basically the thinking is the same. you
Yeah,
know we're just now transferring it to natural holistic medicine, which is really not holistic at all. It's basically just, instead of using a pill, you're using an herb. So I do want to dive into like the basics, the foundation of rethinking how we think and how we look at health.
yeah,
And when I say basics, I'm not. It's not about um, you know use a raw diet, which that it is as well, but like actual foundation, like what do we stand on foundationally when we look at health of an animal? And that's not even something that's taught in vet school.
wow,
We never learned that. When I first saw a lecture by someone who was talking about this in this foundational way, I'm like, oh my God, because then it really simplifies things.
yeah,
So I don't want to take away too much of it, but it's going to be very foundational. And then I think I'm the first one after you.
yep,
So I'm kind of setting the stage for that. And then, you know, the other speakers are going to obviously also build on that and add
yeah.
their specialty to that. But yeah, I'm going to talk about foundation because
And
that's so necessary.
so necessary, and I cannot wait to learn more and be a part
Mhm.
of this. And Billy Hookman, who's also going to be speaking, talked about how great it is to be able to show slides and talk and be there, and the energy that that's going to bring.
Mhm.
And when we gathered all our speakers together, then it was, what order do we put you in that will make
Mhm.
the most sense that people can build. And
Mhm.
that's why you're speaking so
Mhm.
early, because it is the beginning part of it. And how do we build on that, and what do we do, and how do we simplify
Mhm.
it and
Mhm.
make it be part of. And when you talk about supplements, that is so important. I remember many years ago I had a client bring me a dog, and we were working towards getting this pet healthy, and we were successful. Things were happening, things were moving along, everything was looking really great. And he was living in a cone. And then she brought him in for boarding. And when she brought him in, she brought so many supplements. And I
Mhm.
said to her, "What are you doing?" And she says, "Well, I don't know. These say they're natural and they're healthy. I just thought I would just start adding in more." I said, "Stop." Exactly what you're saying.
Right.
We have a supplement. I love, what did you say? A pill for every ill. Um,
Yeah.
and now we have a supplement for everything. And
Yeah.
it really can be, I think, can be dangerous. I
Mhm.
told her, stop. You don't need all these. We've got him healthy now. He can just eat a healthy diet and
Mhm.
be okay. And he is. He's great.
Yeah.
But we have to be careful. Like you said, explain what you mean by that's not holistic when we're just grabbing for supplements. right? Because people think supplements means I'm holistic. So explain what you mean by that.
Well, holistic really encompasses everything, and holistic also encompasses figuring out the underlying cause, the root problem, and then basically addressing everything that contributes to that part. For example, I just got an email or a text message from somebody. Can you please point me towards where you talk about allergies on your website? I'm like, okay, where do I start?
Yeah.
So allergies, whatever symptoms we see, it's just like, the car engine light that's turned red.
Yeah.
Um, well, that doesn't tell you anything, really. It
Right.
just tells you there's something wrong with your engine, but you have to do the diagnostics. And so, same thing with when we do holistic medicine, we have to do the diagnostics and then see what's happening. Or in the case of the dog who can't jump up on the sofa anymore, very oftentimes it's just a little bit of an issue of the nervous system input into the muscles and possibly a little bit of pain. So you fix that and the dog is fine again, especially if it happens all of a sudden. It's not like they get arthritis all of a sudden,
Yeah.
arthritis
Yeah.
happens over time. Um, it kind of develops. So when we talk about holistic, it really encompasses everything. And that's also where, my seven pillars of health come in that, kind of create that whole. So with holistic medicine, we have to look at the whole animal, and not just that, we also look at the relationship with their people, are they emotionally balanced? Are they getting a job that they need? For example, if you have a Malinois, for example, they need a job. Otherwise, they're going to go insane.
And they're
So
gonna
if you
they're
have a
gonna
dog
drag
that has a lot of anxiety and you don't give them what the outlet, it's
yeah.
not working. So holistic medicine looks at everything, all
Yeah.
aspects.
And so that's what's happening, right? You get the holistic doctor, or we
Mhm.
sometimes call them holistic, where you come in with the same symptom that you would go to a traditional doctor, and instead of the traditional doctor grabbing for the prescription medication, the holistic doctor is just grabbing for the supplement and still not finding the
Mhm.
cause,
Mhm.
and still not understanding what holistic means. So it that's why this event is here, because I think
Mhm.
we're doing a great job. I think, I know the spot is, I know you are, Dr. Studer. I think we're doing a great job of getting people to understand diet, nutrition. People are getting it,
Mhm.
but now there's confusion. So we got to kind of backpedal a little bit and go,
Mhm.
okay, well, just like I told you about my client Jax, she just started thinking, oh, so long as it's natural, I should just keep giving it to him.
Mhm. Right.
And so,
And holistic also includes conventional medicine,
sure.
because it encompasses everything. And there's a place for everything. There's a place for conventional medicine, and there's a place for more natural approach to things. But
Yeah.
a truly holistic vet will look at everything. Will consider everything.
Yeah.
You know.
Wasn't it Steve Jobs? Wasn't it Steve Jobs who was dying? Was it Steve Jobs that died from pancreatic cancer? I'm sorry. I don't mean to be disrespectful to his family, but I think he was not wanting to try anything except herbs, and it wasn't working, and he was unwilling to change. And I think that
Mhm.
ultimately, I mean, pancreatic cancer is a really hard cancer,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I think you have to be open to. I have a dog right now that
Mhm.
I've been trying to get the owner to take him to a veterinarian because I think he needs a little help. We're doing a great job, but I think we need to push him over the edge a little bit with some more traditional stuff, because it's the herbs aren't working, things aren't working, and
Mhm.
he's struggling.
Mhm.
So I agree with you. I agree.
Yeah, and it's a matter of quality of life, not just for the animal, but for the people too.
Yeah.
Who are with them.
Yeah.
So I'm a big proponent of quality of life.
Yeah. So a lot of you don't know, but we have Dr. Barry Sands who's going to be speaking at the event, and she's going to be talking about how disease, she's got all these studies of animals who take on their humans' disease. So
Mm-hmm.
what's super interesting is that dog that I'm telling you that we're struggling about, his dad suffers from extreme skin problems, eczema, psoriasis, and so is his dog. So I'm going to try to get them to go into her study because it's super
Mm,
interesting. So
yeah, yeah.
oh, and we're talking about your book signing.
Mm.
So if you guys are, haven't read Dr. Suter's books, she's going to be signing books while she's there. So you're going to get a really good opportunity to not just see her up on stage and discussing the 7 pillars of health and starting that foundation, but afterwards we're doing a lot of Q&A. What do you think about that? That part I'm excited about, is the Q&A section.
Yeah,
So
that'll be fun. That's always very lively,
yeah,
because it really, yeah. Well, people are more invested in getting their questions answered.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it brings more energy to it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard when you're sitting there and you're listening to this, so information coming at you and you're trying to grasp it, but then you're just thinking about your pet, like, which is
Hmm.
fine. Well, how does that transfer over into my animal? And maybe
Hmm.
I need to ask this one extra question. So
Hmm.
we're going to be doing a lot of Q&A, and I'm
Hmm.
super excited about that, because I've gone to a lot of these events, and I do think that the Q&A is a big part of it. Just heard that taking too many supplements can be harmful for our bodies. Yikes. So I have been cutting back for myself. Yeah, Lily. I think I just had a girl at work who's been trying to get healthy. And we were talking about how I diet changed, did my diet. And she goes, well, what supplements are you taking? And I said, I'm not taking any supplements. I'm getting everything from the food that I need. And she said that she's basically living on supplements.
Hmm.
How sad. I mean, it can be very, very dangerous. You can overdose on supplements. The body
Hmm.
doesn't know what to do exactly. So it can be scary. Keep yourself tested, but that's good.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because supplements have to be processed as well. I mean, everything has to be processed, and either the body does well with it or not. And just because somebody else does well on a supplement doesn't mean that I will do well on it, you
Right.
know.
Right. Well,
So,
turmeric. So, have you ever given dogs turmeric?
yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. So turmeric, I can attest for me. I started taking turmeric to get rid of some inflammation, but I used to take a turmeric supplement many years ago
Hmm.
because I have carpal tunnel in my hands. So I would take these turmeric supplements constantly. They never did anything. But as I've learned more about nutrition, I started juicing my own turmeric, and then I
Hmm.
put it in a little bit of apple, and I was trying to lower my cholesterol. So I added in cinnamon. I cannot tell you the difference between what the whole food supplement did for me versus
Hmm.
the pill. Now the pill
Hmm.
is easier, I'm not going to lie. but
Hmm.
but I think the body does better with the actual whole food. Don't you think?
Well, yeah, and in your case, you're also changing everything else. So whether it's the turmeric that did it or not, that's the question too. And that's one of the big issues that I've come across is that people always, as humans, we always try to figure out what is doing what. But
Right.
most of the time, we really have no clue, you know?
Right.
Um, for example, I have one dog who's on some steroids a little bit for because his adrenal glands are low and he's just not making enough, and a little bit of thyroid hormone, and he starts itching. And then, well, is it because of that? I'm like, you're most likely not. And then, long story short, turns out he has fleas. So it's like, we have this conception that, okay, if I'm taking this, A plus B or 1 plus 1 equals 2, but maybe there was another one over there that added like a 3 to it.
Yeah.
So we don't live in a vacuum. We are affected by so many things. Even just the mental aspect of things. For example, you're now working with someone who you feel comfortable with and you trust. So you're going full force with that. And there's an energy that comes with it that is changing things. So is it the turmeric, or is it the diet change, or is it the new doctor, or is it your new attitude to
Yep.
things, or
Yep.
or whatever? So it's always difficult to really know what did what. And that's why oftentimes, when people will come back and say, oh, my dog's so much better, and I mean, yeah, well, maybe it just got better on its own. I'm the first one to say I had nothing to do with that.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Because
it's
I
true.
don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know.
There's so many variables. It's absolutely
Yeah.
true. There's so many variables. And
Right.
you touch on one variable that I talk a lot about with my clients, about how important it is to have the right veterinarian for your pets, because if you're having conflict, then that stress is in, like you just said with me, finding a different doctor that's guiding me down a path that is a little better, I think, for me.
Mhm.
it is a huge stress relief for me that I don't have to feel weird about my decisions to change my
Mhm.
diet in the way that I wanted to change
Mhm.
my diet. So I think it's exactly, I hadn't even really thought about how much happier I am making those changes.
Mhm.
So I can only imagine if I was going, like my dogs see a veterinarian that believes in whole fresh food diets and the raw
Mhm.
diet, and all the vets that I speak to on this show support that as well. So if I need to send stuff to you guys, you're not going to look at my stuff and go, you feed what?
Yeah, right.
That is so important.
Um,
That's why I bring you guys on this show, because I know, especially in my area, there's not a lot of veterinarians that will do that. And
mhm.
so they can send their charts to you guys and feel confident. And it's important. We can't
Mhm.
discredit that. One flea can drive them nuts. She uses coconut oil. I have not heard of coconut oil for fleas. Have you, Dr. Suter?
Well, I think it's lauric acid in there that pests don't like very much.
Are
So
we
it can help.
are we giving it to the pet or putting it on the pet?
Petting, well, that would be on the pet. I mean, I don't know what Lily meant,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I'm putting it on the pet as a flea and tick preventative or repellent.
Yeah. Huh. It doesn't make,
Yeah,
wouldn't it make your dog greasy, or do you put it like a light
probably.
spray? I'm thinking about my dogs would be a greasy mess, but maybe
Yeah,
maybe in
yeah.
a spray bottle. Lily, you got to let us know, because if there's stuff out there that works. She says she also feeds garlic, ginger, and turmeric. Now, garlic, I know for sure that's what I give my dogs. And well, I guess I can't know for sure, but I give my dogs garlic and they never have a flea problem. Putting it in
Yeah,
oil,
for a
oh, on the
belly.
belly, yeah, where there's probably not any hair. So that's pretty
Yeah,
interesting stuff.
yeah.
So we are also doing, I don't know if I told you, but at the event, I'm putting together a memorial, a
Hmm.
little remembrance. I know it sounds so sad, but as this progresses and we're coming up on the date for the big event, I'm always reminded about all of the animals that have died too young. Um,
Hmm.
and I don't think necessarily they should have. And so we're putting together this beautiful memorial. So anybody that's listening, I know Lily had sent in a picture um, of your pets, and we're going to record this beautiful memorial, and it's actually going to be sung by two really amazing, beautiful singers. One of them sang at my brother's funeral, and so she's going to be singing at the. So this event is doing so much more. We're going to take you guys all the way through. Um, Everything, including why we're here. And why we're here is we want our pets to live longer and healthier,
Hmm. Hmm.
happier, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm excited about that. Anybody that is on here, if you have any animals that you want to put in this memorial, please send them to us, so I can get those pictures in there. We're going to try to do about a 10 to 15-minute moment of silence, and then they're going to sing through this beautiful memorial. So Dr. Suter, I don't think you knew about that, but if you have any of your own pets that you want to add, Dr. Morgan sent me in a picture of one of her dogs that died from veterinary malpractice. And
Mhm.
so we're going to be putting her dog in the memorial. If there's any dogs you want in the memorial, send to us. So,
Mhm. Okay.
yeah.
All right.
I know it seems a little weird for an expo, but I don't want people to forget. That's why we fight. That's why Dr. Morgan fights against veterinary malpractice, because she's been the victim of it and she's a
Mhm.
veterinarian. And that's why people fight, you know, why we do
Well,
these.
and the thing is that, a lot of animals nowadays are dying sooner than they should. Particularly now, there seems to be a wave of souls leaving the planet.
Yeah.
I've had quite a number of patients who just decided, my time now, bye bye.
Oh,
So it's kind of sad, and people are struggling with that. And so having a place where they can, you know, kind of put that in the circle and have the support and everything, I think that's good because certainly there's been a lot of change and, especially in the last couple of years. And with change comes letting go of a lot of old, a lot of things that,
yeah.
we used to know and do. And so there's some sadness. And I think there are a lot of, you know, hearts that are hurting out there. So,
Yeah. It really is a lot. And it's just, it is a part of life, but I'm just seeing animals dying. Like about a year ago, I had a young dog die from diabetes. And I just feel like that dog never even needed to have diabetes. I mean, it's possible that maybe he should never even have been down that road.
Right.
So, and that's the stuff that we talk about. Like, did that dog, could that dog have, could that have been prevented? Could it have been avoided? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it may have been, but it may also have been the animal's journey, because we all sign up for some kind of, at least that's my belief, is that we sign up for a journey.
Yeah.
We come here on to this planet, live out that journey, and when we're done, then we leave. So to me, death is not quite as tragic in that sense because I can I can see that, how at least the animals that passed, in my practice recently, for most of them were pretty old, but my sister's cat passed away, and she was really struggling a lot with a new transition and a new life, like change in life, and sometimes animals can help us better when they're not so present in a physical body. So sometimes it can be that somebody's taking on a new job and the animal leaves in order to make room for that new job to really work out better. I had another couple, they had to put their dog down, and um, a week later they were going on their honeymoon. So it's like they were embarking on a whole new journey. So that dog, I mean, he was old, he needed to go. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not that they put him down just because they didn't want him anymore. Definitely not. Um, but it's like it seems to kind of happen right before something new is about to unfold.
Yeah.
So,
That's an amazing. Victor, hi. Victor says, and Michelle, they're writing stuff out, but Victor says it's beautiful. He feels the same way. It is a
mhm,
beautiful way to
yeah,
think about it in
yeah.
terms of, it's not, it's so hard not to be sad, but
Hmm.
when you start to think about the way that you're expressing it is a beautiful
Hmm.
thing. So, but
Yeah.
it is why I want to do the tribute, because they do come here and they have a place and a job and things that they can do for us, and then they move on. I
Hmm.
just want to make sure that we are supporting, because animals can't choose what goes into their mouth. I mean,
Hmm.
sometimes they can, but for the
Hmm.
most part, we are responsible for making those choices for our animals. So if we make poor choices based on convenience and all the other things, I know price sometimes we don't have control over. We can
Hmm.
only afford what we can afford. But
Yeah.
convenience is something that we do have control over. Sometimes people just don't want to do it because it takes too much time. I
Yeah.
can tell you I had that problem when I tried to change my diet. It's not as convenient. But because we make those choices for our pets, I just want to make sure that we're giving them the best chance to fulfill
Hmm.
their journey that they were supposed to be here for.
Hmm. Yeah.
And that's,
Well, and every action has a reaction.
yeah,
Everything has a consequence, and um, if we cut corners someplace, then maybe we pay up. We have to pay later, and maybe that's the lesson. You know,
yeah, yeah,
Again, everybody has their lesson on this planet, and we never really know what that really is. I mean, even our own lesson, most of the time, it's like, I have no clue. But then you look back and you're like, wow, that was really incredible. Yes,
yeah,
sure, I was sick and I was hurting and I felt crummy, but wow, did I learn from it?
yeah,
Did I grow from it? And that's why, with my clients, with the people I know, I just kind of, I'm just sort of there to hold this, not hold the space. I mean, I'm not holding a space, but I'm just kind of accepting where they are in their journey. And I mean, it's not for me to judge, how things should be different or what. I mean, certainly if somebody comes to me and they will insist to keep their animals on some junky kibble, I'm like, I don't think I'm the vet for you.
yeah,
But that's their journey, and I can accept that, but I just don't want to be a part of it.
yeah, yeah. No, I agree with
You
you.
know.
That's kind of one of the hard things too. I have that problem with medicated shampoos.
Mhm.
People are constantly wanting these dogs to be on these lifelong medicated shampoos, and
Mhm.
the dogs are just getting worse and worse. They're not. It's
Mhm.
it's not helping, and
Mhm.
so I have to unfortunately say a lot of times I'm not the groomer for you because I don't
Mhm.
want to use that shampoo anymore. I'll do it, the vet prescribes it and I'll do it for a while, but when I can see that all we're doing is more harm to the animal, I don't want to be
Mhm.
part of that. I can't
Right.
be a part of it, but I understand, like you're saying, I also understand that that's where they're comfortable right now. That's their
Mhm.
comfort zone. Their vet told them to do
Mhm.
it. They want to do what their vet says. So I understand that.
Right. And then,
But being
at some point, then it becomes a bit of an issue, when it gets too painful, people change. And sometimes that's what it takes, because we humans are not very good at changing on our own. We have
no,
to have a little bit of a push. And the animals are really good at doing that. I mean, that's
yeah,
how we now see so many more people coming over more into the holistic natural field because they're noticing that their animals aren't not doing well with what their conventional wisdom was saying. So and they learn, and again, everybody's on their journey, and for some people they're a little bit more this way already, and others not quite as much. But it doesn't mean that
right.
they're any more advanced or not. It's
No.
just where they are, and um, yeah, it's
For
all
me, it's hard because I think about where I am today, and I wish I would have been there years ago. Like I look back now, and I'm like, why didn't I think like this then? But it takes a lot of practice in looking at each situation and being open to why that might have happened. I just want to share a quick story with you guys. My nephew many years ago had, out of the blue, was driving home from work and he crashed his car. He's not a drug addict, wasn't on alcohol, no drugs, nothing. He started to feel weird. The car he was managed to get the car up on someone's lawn, and then he can't remember what happened after that. He was found on the grass, and they called 911. The police showed up. The police basically thought that he was lying to them. He just told them, I don't know, and they sent him home. They took his car, they impounded his car, they took his phone, they took evidence, and then they just left him walking down the street. So that happened to be Christmas Eve, let's say 6 years ago, 7 years ago. Christmas Day, he was coming to my house, and my sister was very concerned. She says, please make Casey go to the doctor. He's saying he's fine, but I don't think so. We did make him go to the doctor. It turned out he had a tumor in his brain that he was born with. And my sister was furious. She wanted to sue that department, all this stuff. She was just so angry. But what ended up happening, we found out, is if he would have went to the hospital where he crashed the car, he would have went to Anaheim Memorial. But instead, because he went the next day from my house, he went to WestMed, which happened to have the number one surgeon in the country that deals with those types of tumors. And so I presented that to my sister and I said, Robin, that was intervention, and we are really, really lucky because it could have got missed at the other hospital. And that was a life lesson for me. To this day, I try to look at things much bigger. Like maybe it feels bad, but maybe it was supposed to be that way. So
Right,
yeah,
exactly. I'm just
yeah,
gonna turn on the light real quick. It's
yeah.
starting to get dark here. Hold on.
I know we're not going to keep you much longer. But I wanted to share that story with you because it was really a moment. And now every time something that feels bad or
Mm-hmm.
I don't want it to be that way, I just stop and I just say, let it play out the best that it can play out, because you never know. Because I think my nephew is alive to this day because that police officer chose to send him home and
Mm-hmm.
not get him help.
Mm-hmm.
I did call the police officer a couple of days later and talked to him and said, hey, you might want to be a little bit careful, because they judged him. They thought he was just some
Mm-hmm.
kid
Yeah,
who was, you
yeah,
know, and it could have ended up very badly, but it ended up, and he's fine to this day. He had to have surgery by that surgeon, so it was really
mm-hmm.
hard.
Yeah,
We, we,
yeah. I mean, there's always some pearl somewhere, even if
yeah,
it doesn't look good, and even if we feel crappy,
yeah,
there's some sort of a little pearl in there.
yeah.
Um,
We got to look for them. So
yeah.
we're going to probably, we're hoping, at the Hyatt, we're going to have, you're flying in on the night before. We're going to have a big dinner and try to get everything put together. So, Lily, I have a 4-year-old Cocker Spaniel that sheds hair every day. I brush him daily. Do I need to add something to his diet?
Well, um, that depends. It depends on why he's shedding that much hair every day. There are different reasons for that. It could be a thyroid issue, it could be a dietary issue, it could be a deficiency of something, it could be hormonal. Well, I already mentioned that. Yeah, there's so many different things that it could be that without, doing a little bit more digging, we wouldn't really know.
Yeah. I will tell you, Lily, from a groomer standpoint, that's the first thing what Dr. Suter says. First thing I always tell people is to, there's so many reasons for shedding. Some
Mhm.
of it's natural, some of it's like she's saying, like there's hormonal, you can't, that's where we make the mistake. As a nutritionist, I constantly want every problem to be caused by food because it's an easy solution. So I would love to make every problem be like, oh, you just need to feed them this and it all goes away. And sometimes it works. But I will tell you that I'm using a new system called microbubbles, and it works amazing to clear out the hair follicles and make them healthier so that they're not wanting to fall out as much. But you have to, the machine is like $10,000. But if you can find a groomer that offers that in your area, it's made by a company called TheraClean, and it's amazing. And it wouldn't harm if you wanted to try something like that while you're getting. But she says the blood work.
Mhm.
Dr.
Yeah,
Suter,
but what does that mean? Just blood work. I mean, what kind of blood
yes.
work was run? How in depth and what was tested? Um, you know.
Yeah, I
So
think people a
yeah,
lot of times think that blood work means that they run everything, but thyroid would have to be run separate, right?
yeah, and oftentimes they will only run a T4, which is not really giving you all the information that you need. Because T4 is converted to T3, which is the active form of the thyroid hormone in the liver. What if the liver isn't working quite as well as it should? Some of it is also converted in the gastrointestinal tract. So, whatever, if there's something going on there, you can't see, you wouldn't know. They could also have autoantibodies, which also don't get tested in regular blood work. So, there are a lot of other things that can be tested for that are not part of what you see in the blood, and blood is just a snapshot in time as well, so it just gives you like a little snapshot right there. Whereas other types of lab work, such as for example hair analysis, that could give you more information of what's going on at the tissue level, because within the blood things have to stay pretty much consistently the same, so there's not a whole lot of variation going on, whereas in the tissue there could be a significant deficiency or excess of something, for example. um,
What should she ask for? What would you, if you had this case, what kind of, what panel would she be asking for?
Well, I would really have to know a lot more about the animal in order to really determine on what next tests that I would want to run. But some of the tests that I do run are full thyroid panels, biome tests, food sensitivity tests, hair analysis, hormone testing for the adrenals. So those are some of the other tests that I run to see what might be
So
going on.
help us out here a little bit because I see this a lot. Complete CBC. Can you tell us a little bit what, because I think the word complete is what confuses people. They think a lot of times, I know I do, like, oh, then that must be everything if it's complete. What does that mean when they say complete CBC?
I don't know. I mean, that really depends on whoever says that. But a CBC is basically red blood cells, white blood cells, hemoglobin, platelets. So it basically looks at more of the cellular aspect of the blood, whereas a chemistry panel will look at liver enzymes, kidney values, electrolytes, blood glucose, protein levels, and that type of thing. But it very much depends. There's a pre-op panel that will do there will be a CBC included in that, but the chemistry panel will be very minimal. Then there's a junior panel, for example. Again, that will depend on what lab you use, who the vet is. Um, I call it a junior panel when it's just a little bit less, and then I have a senior panel that has more, but that very much depends because every vet will kind of have a little bit of different things. Adult wellness chemistry, that's usually more on the, not. full panel, so it doesn't test for everything. Um, but it's definitely more than just a pre-op panel, for example.
Yeah.
So
I
yeah.
just I always want, because I have a lot of clients that
Thanks,
come to me,
Michelle.
and I know well, yeah, exactly. But a lot of times people will come to me and they're like, oh no, he had the complete blood count, so they think that includes the thyroid, the everything. And so
Yeah.
I want to make sure you guys know that a complete blood panel doesn't always, or blood count doesn't always mean they're checking for everything. And just like the stool sample you were talking about, you might run a biome test.
Mhm.
Is that different? Explain a little bit how different that is than running for, because I have people tell me all the time, oh no, they ran a fecal test. I'm like, no, this is different. They're not looking for, so explain what the difference between a microbiome test and a fecal test is.
Well, the regular fecal tests that, often are done on a regular basis or should be done on a regular basis, that one actually checks for parasites. Whereas the biome test will check for microbial composition. So it will check different microbial species in the gut to see what the balance is like. And then there's another fecal test that looks for viruses and bacteria such as Salmonella, E. coli, Clostridium. Um, yeah. So there are different tests
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah, they're definitely different tests, and they can be. So
Yeah.
Lily wants to know your opinion on how often should I bathe her? How often should she bathe her dog? What do you think?
Well, that would again depend on what's going on, whether it's needed or not. My childhood dog, she would get a bath twice a year. She did
Yeah,
fine with that. She wasn't particularly smelly, and well, once in a while she'd roll in something really nasty, so then she would get a bath, but she hated it, so we just didn't do it much. Um, Nowadays, because we're more exposed to chemicals, glyphosate, aluminum from chemtrails, and God knows what else they're spraying around everywhere,
I
it
know.
might be a good idea to, bathe a little bit more regularly just to get some of these toxins off the coat, because whatever gets on the coat also gets into the animal. Um, so maybe a little more frequently, but again, it depends. I mean, if you have a dog that absolutely hates getting a bath, I don't
That's
know
yeah.
that you'd really want to do that.
Yeah, yeah. I don't bathe. People are always amazed, being from the grooming side of it, that I don't recommend dogs get groomed constantly. I have to do case by case. Same thing. If I have a dog
Mhm.
who's having reactions and allergens and all that kind of stuff, sometimes we have to do it more. I love the micro bubbles. Coco, I can't wait. I tell people all the time she's got an appointment to get micro bubbles. I am obsessed with micro bubbles. I can't tell you how amazing they are. Please try to find your groomer. The only thing I will tell you is they've only got 252 groomers across this country that have one, and I'm fortunate enough to be one.
Yeah,
So they're
yeah.
going to be hard for you to find, but they're actually trying to get the micro bubbles to be FDA approved for humans, for psoriasis and all sorts of stuff. I just like it because one of the problems with overbathing our dogs is the chemicals we're putting on our dogs to overbathe them. And
Yeah,
so
yeah,
when you get
exactly.
something like a microbubbles that doesn't have to use anything, it's pretty amazing. So,
Yeah, yeah. But
so
it sounds like Lily, you're doing a great job,
I'm
especially
guys,
cleaning the feet. I think that's
yeah.
good to do, cleaning the feet daily, and just use a little bit of water or maybe just a tad bit of soap. I'm not a huge fan of using all these wipes because oftentimes they have more chemicals in it than you'd want, and more chemicals on it than you want to take off.
Yeah. Yeah.
So just water, and if you need just a tad bit of soap, just to break, kind of decrease the surface tension of the water so that the fatty parts kind of go with it.
Sorry, I was reading this and she says, I just heard about brown fat. It's taking, am I reading this right? Cold showers. I feel amazing.
Well, brown fat is the abdominal fat, generally, and it tends to be more inflammatory. I think she's referring to humans. And yeah, taking cold showers, sure, go ahead. I'm not doing that.
I thought she was saying, oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed. I thought you were saying you were taking showers in brown fat. So I thought I was reading it
Yeah,
wrong.
that is disgusting.
Like, that can't be. I'm like, oh no, is this going to be? I had visions of like mud baths. And I'm like, am I reading this right? I see what you're saying now. I don't know about the brown fat.
Yeah, brown fat is not really the type of fat that you necessarily want in the body because it tends to be more metabolically active in an inflammatory fashion.
Oh, really? Yeah, I
So,
don't know. That's interesting. That's all interesting stuff. So,
yeah.
well, it is late for Dr. Suter. She's had a long, long day, and you're just such a great, great person to have on the show because she could cut. Can you believe, like, you could throw anything at her? She knows allergies. What did we talk about tonight? All this stuff, allergies,
Brown fat.
brown fat. Like my UPS driver told me about them. Cold showers. I don't know about cold. I'm not getting in a cold shower.
Yeah, no, me neither.
Not.
I'm not.
Right.
People are taking ice baths. I'm like, yeah, that's not going to happen. That's just
Yeah.
about as likely to happen as me jumping out of a plane that's
You
up in
know,
the air
yeah,
somewhere.
me either. I wouldn't jump out of a plane or jump in a cold shower. I'm
Yeah,
too much of a wuss. I don't
yeah,
know.
same
I don't
here.
know. So,
Maybe that's
but
why we get along so well.
oh, Lily's doing she's jumping in cold shower. Yeah, that's why we get along so well. I don't know how you live in Chicago. I can't do the cold weather.
Yeah, well, I have PTSD every year.
Ugh. What's the weather out there right now?
It's still nice.
It's nice.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Well,
I might
Michelle,
be
no
I
hard
might
showers and no cold showers.
get cold showers. Yep. No. Oh.
Again, I get along really well with Michelle too, so there you go.
Yeah, I'm not a cold person. I don't do real well with cold, although this heat's driving me crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, guys, well
It's
we're
hot. It's different, you know. It's nice to cool off, but in the middle of winter when you're already cold, no, thank you.
oh my gosh, she
Anyway,
says she goes from hot to cold.
yeah, well, yeah. A lot of people do that, but yeah,
You are a trooper, Lily.
yeah. I
I'll
know.
try I'll try my toe later.
Yeah,
Cold rinses
yeah.
in my shower, good
Oh,
for
Kristen. Okay, I'm
uh,
not sure I like you anymore.
just like that. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Well, hopefully you guys will either make it to the event. Maybe we're going to get some recordings. We were talking a little bit about that. We are unfortunately not going to be able to do live streaming. It's a hotel issue. So if you guys can make it out to the event to see some of these great speakers live, I really, really encourage you to do it. We are going to hopefully do these once a year, just to try to kind of expand, because we know there's one in New York, there's one in Chicago. Well, the West Coast doesn't have one yet, so we needed to bring something. And thank goodness that Dr. Suter was willing to fly all the way out to Southern California to be a part of this, because it is really important. But we will try to
yeah,
get the recordings for you guys if you can't make it, and possibly be able to get those to you. Again, whether you're going to be at the event or not, if you have an animal that has passed on and you would like to have them in this memorial, please send me some pictures. I would really, really appreciate it. But for now, thank you so much for being a part of the Vets I Recommend. They are so valuable to us. And so if you don't have a vet in your area, please reach out to Dr. Suter. She can help you, even if you don't live in the Chicago area. She's just such a blessing. And you really want to be able to have her look at your pet's records and kind of go over it with you, because she's pretty amazing. Dr. Suter.
thanks for all that you do, Carrie, and for spreading the word. You're such an advocate for the animals. You know, without you, there would be no event. So thanks for all that you do, that you're doing. I know it takes a lot of work to put something like that together. So
Thank you. Thank
you
you.
and Lori in the background.
I was just going to say, I got to tell you, like, Lori has been the driving force behind it. Like, I just want it to happen, but Lori's making it happen. Like, thank you so much. Lori's behind the scenes. She's the one typing all of this great stuff out for you guys, so you have it, so you can reference it. You can go back and watch this later if you want to get some of those articles that Dr. Suter's written. So it's just really, really important. But thank you, everybody. Dr. Suter, I'm going to see you very soon. I can't
Yeah,
wait.
I know. I know. I'm excited.
I know
I'm
it's going to be a
excited.
lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. There's going to be a lot of vets there that are going to be in the audience too. I'm
Oh, really?
hoping.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah, because I didn't want to put more nervous on you.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, oh God.
No, it's okay. They're open to it. It's a few vets in the area that I'm trying to expand. Um, on what they're trying. They're on the
Mhm.
fence a little bit,
Yeah,
and so I
yeah.
think it'll be
No,
really
it's
good.
great.
Yeah, I think it's
Yeah,
going to be great for
it's
them to
good.
hear from you. So it'll be awesome.
Mhm.
So, all right,
Yeah.
everybody, we're going to let Dr. Suter go to sleep, and all the rest of you guys. So thank you guys so much. Oh, try a cold shower. Okay, I'm going to do it, Lily. My toe. I've heard about it, but I'll do my toe first.
Yeah.
All right, I'll see you guys next
All
week.
right.
Take care, everybody. Bye
Bye,
now.
everyone. Great questions. Bye.